That way I could share it out to people too.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Share to Facebook. Share it to Twitter, Twatter, whatever. Whatever you decide you want to call it this week.
Yeah. I did believe this is the earliest we've ever recorded.
It's what happens when you lose your job.
Oh, you lost your job?
Right before Christmas.
Oh, that sucks, man. Sorry to hear that.
Yep, that's why things have been a little wonky around here anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't bother telling anybody because I didn't want to ruin anybody else's holidays. But yeah, they let me go December 14th.
Oh, man.
So,
that sucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Such is life.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Uh,
How about you?
oh, Christmas was okay. I got mostly clothes, and the job has been decent, but they're now that the holiday's over, they don't have as many hours in the department I'm in, so they're having to put me in other departments just so they can give me the hours, which they're doing it because I'm the only one in the store that's cross-trained in like almost every department in the store. So they can put me in other areas, and have the only area I can't go into is sporting goods because I haven't completed all the computer stuff to sell guns there. I have my license, like I can sell ammo, but I can't sell guns. I have to go through some more training on all the policies that Walmart has, federal, state, everything like that.
Right.
Get qualified, everything like that. I haven't gone through that, but pretty much everywhere else I can go into, and that will hopefully help me also if I want to move up, be a manager. But then, of course, my wife's grandpa passed right before New Year, so that kind of threw everything. I mean, we knew it was coming, but we just didn't know it was coming this soon.
It's tough though, especially around the holidays.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we had a good Christmas with him. He was there and he was himself. He was in his right mind the whole time and was joking around in his usual joking, fun self. And I guess he told my wife right before he left, told her, we have the best family and to take care of them. And then his last words before he died was he told her she was beautiful and that he loved his wife and his wife was so beautiful. And that was like the last thing he said before they gave him the morphine and he went to sleep. And then he died that night. So, but he led a good life. Like I said on Facebook, he led a good life. He was a war vet, Navy guy.
That's right.
4 years in the Navy on a minesweeper. Went in 41, came out in 45. Was in Pearl Harbor the day after it was bombed.
Oof.
And was in Hiroshima shortly after the bomb was, right after the bomb. He was one of the first people in Hiroshima after they dropped the bomb.
Making sure people were okay.
Yep. He did say, though, that because he said when they went in, he had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, they knew that Japan had surrendered, but they didn't know. He said he saw the stockpile of weapons that the Japanese had. He's like, I've never seen more guns in my life there. He's like, it was terrifying. But my favorite story before we get started, my favorite story he used to tell was they were in the Philippines and they ran into a Japanese destroyer. And they're on a minesweeper, and all they got is like a few anti-aircrafts and a few small little guns. And they're trying to keep away from this destroyer. They go around one of the islands, and there on the horizon coming across was the Missouri. Started lobbing with those big 16-inchers at the Japanese destroyer, chasing it away.
Can't imagine.
I know. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm getting ready to just get this started. I got my tea.
There you go. I'm hitting the intro now.
Okay.
Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. We are coming to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eye of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Martali, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, my co-pilot, the Finn to my Poe, the Chewbacca to my Han Solo. Dare I say the L3 to my...
Don't do it.
Mr. Christopher Stolle. Chris, how are you doing? And by the way, I hate to say it, congratulations on your Eagles beating the Bears. But we won't talk about that.
Well, not that it's Star Wars related. Hello, everybody, by the way. But have you seen that they've officially marked it as a tipped ball instead of just a missed field goal?
I seen that. It's still...
That should help you feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah. Still, that's not the first time that he's done that this year. So, but we won't dwell on that. I'll just wish the Eagles luck going forward. They got a tough road ahead of them.
Got the Saints. But that field goal kick after the first one being good, even though we called that timeout, that second one had to feel like, well, I built a bigger, better Death Star. I don't understand why it didn't work this time.
Oh, it has launched a bunch of funny memes, though. My favorite one is the one with Sandra Bullock from that new Bird Box, where they have her face on it, Kim kicking the field goal.
Yeah. Oh man, but neither here nor there. We're here to talk Star Wars, and we are live on twitch.tv/Realm of the Mist Entertain, as well as on live with the YouTube channel, Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Guys, you could talk to us there. Post your questions or comments live. We will read them on air.
We will. And we are ready to get started. I have my cup of tea, courtesy of a longtime listener and subscriber, Mr. Yeah, my name won't blank. Richard J.
There it
courtesy
is.
Of Richard J. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful tea all the way from Wales.
There you go.
Anyway, so, yes, we are here to talk about Star Wars, and this is our year in review. We're going to be talking about everything Star Wars related in 2018 and looking ahead towards the future of the galaxy far, far away. So I don't think any talk, of course, of 2018 in Star Wars, you can't do anything talk about 2018 in Star Wars without bringing up Solo. It was really the only Star Wars movie that we had last year. And it's interesting to look at that this is the longest period of time since The Force Awakens that we've gone without a movie.
True.
It'll be over a year by the time episode 9 comes out. Which is funny because we went, like, how many years between the prequels and Force Awakens? But yet, it just seems like so long now that we've had these movies back to back to back to back to back. And now you have this kind of pause in between it. It seems like it's going to be a long, long time. I mean, we have other Star Wars stuff coming up to fill the gaps, but as far as the movies go, it's a long gap.
Well, yes and no, because remember, back in the day, every movie came out about every 3 years.
Yeah.
You got like the original trilogy, you had 77, 80, and 83. And then it was 16 years before we saw episode 1. And again, it was 99, 2002, 2005, or whatever the math was.
Yeah.
And then the break until 2015, I believe it was, that Force Awakens came out.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
I think maybe it's just... It seems in this new digital age where things just happen so quick, it seems like a longer break than it probably really is. It just our, this new society of effing everything be boom, 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 boom. It seems like, oh my gosh, it'll be over a year between Star Wars movies? I don't know, it just... I understand where you're coming from, but it just seems like... like I said, it's probably just the fact that we live in, like, this new society we live on. Everything just happens so much quicker that it seems longer than it actually is. But do you think that the break might have anything to do with how Solo did? They saw?
No, because I mean, it was pretty much pre-planned that way anyway. However, I think because Solo didn't do as well as they hoped.
Yeah.
It did worse than I expected. I really thought, like, first off, I didn't think it was a terrible movie. It wasn't great by any means, but it wasn't a terrible movie.
No.
But two things it had against it. One, nobody was giving Alden Ehrenreich a chance to be Han.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Even I was like, there were better choices. I thought he did all right, but I mean, a lot of people were just completely against that. And two, it was the movie none of us wanted.
Yeah.
So when you think about all the other stories they could have told, they gave us this one. I don't know what their plan was behind it, but that's really what hurt it. Besides the fact that everybody was still feeling very salty about The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
All that combined hurt Solo. But Solo had nothing to do with the year and a half that we're waiting now.
And the lack of promotion that Lucasfilm and Disney put behind it. I mean, that really, you compare it to, the last standalone, Rogue One. And, I mean, that had all kinds of promo behind it. They really pushed it, but there wasn't really any push or promotion for Solo. I mean, it just seemed like it just came out of nowhere. Like, hey, there's a Star Wars movie. Here's the trailer. Okay. And that was it.
Pretty much, yeah. They didn't treat it like they were expecting it to do anything. They really weren't. I want to use for those, you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes here, the flop. I mean, most movies would have killed to do the type of money and make the type of money that Solo made. I mean, they made money. A lot of movies would have been like, yeah, sure, give us, we'd love to do that. But Solo wasn't most movies. Well, that's exactly it.
Solo is a Star Wars movie. So when I hear people say Solo was a flop, I want to put it in quotes and parentheses and say flop, because yes, if you're looking at from the standpoint of this being a Star Wars movie and the benchmark that Star Wars movies have made in the past, yes, Solo was a flop. If you look at it as just a movie, Solo was a success. From the standpoint of the money that it made, everything like that. So it's kind of hard to, it's in that gray line of, was it a success? Was it a flop? Well, it's like everything, like a lot of things in Star Wars. It depends on your point of view.
Well, you're hitting the nail directly on the head. Solo had a budget that wasn't as high as most Star Wars movies. So the money it made in theater alone made its money back plus profit.
Yeah.
And then the DVD sales and everything else, obviously the Blu-ray sales, the digital downloads that are going on now, it made money. It's the lowest. Yeah. It's the lowest intake of a Star Wars movie. Yes, I'm not going to argue the point, but
no.
But it's by no means a flop. It's not a failure. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a great Star Wars movie, but it's not a failure.
No. I mean, I would put it down. I definitely put it down near the bottom of my least favorite Star Wars movies. I'd probably put it right above Episode 1, with Episode 2 being my least favorite, Episode 1, and then Solo probably being next on that list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then probably next after that, I would have to say Last Jedi. Not because, but hear me out, not because I think it was a bad movie, but I just think the other movies are that much better. You know, as far as where I would rank it at, I would say that the original, and this isn't me saying, oh, the original trilogy is better, the prequels are better, blah, 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 whatever. It's just, I think that the other movies are better. Not that Last Jedi is a bad movie. The other movies, in my opinion, are better.
Well, see, I'm a person that's still, which, by the way, you got a lot of loud noise in the background.
What's that?
You have a lot of loud noise in the background.
All right, give me 1 second. I will turn it off.
All right, while you're doing that, I'll say my piece here.
Okay.
I would agree that Last Jedi wasn't as what people would have expected. That doesn't make it a terrible movie, like John was saying. But to me, it ranks a little bit higher because of the fact it subverted expectations so much. Whether you like it or hate it, you got to respect it. It really does go higher on the list for me. I originally put The Last Jedi right under Empire Strikes Back.
Really?
Or actually, no, that's not fair. I put it right under Rogue One. It was Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One. Rogue One really did surprise the hell out of me.
Oh.
So Rogue One is still number 2 to me. Last Jedi did dip below Return of the Jedi. So for my list,
for
my list, it's Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and then Last Jedi. And it is because it sits higher for me because of the fact that it did subvert a Star Wars movie, and I'm air quoting too, where we had a formula, we know the formula. It was a breath of fresh air for me to have things be different than every other Star Wars movie I ever seen.
Yeah.
For better or worse, that was a good thing for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see where you're coming from.
But Solo.
Yeah, I mean,
Solo sits right above Attack of the Clones for me. Which Attack of the Clones, if we're talking about just like the live action movies, is the lowest of the list. If we're adding in like Clone Wars and the holiday special, then Attack of the Clones sits 2 above bottom of the list. So.
I agree. To me, Attack of the Clones was definitely the worst, in my opinion, of the live action Star Wars movies. And I've said this before, Jedi is my personal favorite for personal reasons. The first movie I ever saw in theaters was Return of the Jedi that I can remember. Despite what Solo, the success or not success that Solo had, we did get a few other things happening in 2018. We got a new animated series. I have not had a chance to watch much of it. I've seen one episode. It's for kids. I mean, that's all I can say. Is you can tell it's for kids.
Yeah, but so is Rebels. Rebels was for kids, and I think it had a stronger start than this. Now, does that mean that this won't pick up the way Rebels did? No, not at all. I mean, they did move it over to Disney XD instead of just being on the Disney Channel itself. So, I mean, they have a little bit more leeway to get a little darker with it. And they are starting to bring the First Order into the story. Spoilers for those that aren't familiar with the show yet. But this season really was just a goofball on a racing platform. It really didn't have much to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's sad. I'm hoping that it will get better and move up. I mean, you know, Star Wars has had a really good success with their animated series, with, you know, Clone Wars and then Rebels and things like that. So, and with Filoni at the head, you know, it still gives me hope that that will get better and get, you know, good stories. Unless they are just strictly looking at that children audience and not really looking at, well, like people like us.
Right.
If they're just strictly looking at, we're just looking at getting the kids. You know, we don't, you know, this is strictly for kids, and we're not, you know, we're not even going to market to, because that's what Clone Wars and even later on Rebels did, is they tried to do that line of catering to, you know, both of us, and catering to not just the younger fans but the older fans too. So I know we'll have to wait and see how that.
Well, I also predict too. I mean, they had a lot more leeway with Clone Wars and with Rebels because of the fact the story was known. You know, we knew how the main story was focusing and going to turn out. You knew how the Clone Wars ended and how the Empire rose into power. You knew that the Empire grew to strength, took over the galaxy, and then fell to the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
They haven't finished the sequel trilogy yet, so it's kind of a fine line that Resistance is existing in this time frame.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want to spoil anything for episode 9 with it. So yeah, I think that's part of why it was kind of, I hate to use this term, but it was a very vanilla show for first season.
Yeah. I definitely, I can definitely see that. And like you said, they didn't want to, so setting it in one place instead of having the characters go out and go all over the place, setting it at one place and just having it be there, and having them, you know, every once in a while maybe deal with a character from the movies, but mostly deal with new characters, may have made sense until the sequel trilogy ends, and then they can kind of fill in the blanks with all the other stuff that went in. Now, once they know, like, okay, this is, you know, what's going to happen at the end, then they can go in and kind of fill in the blanks.
Right.
But the other news, of course, we got was, and this is, we'll go into our predictions for 2019, not really predictions, but just what we see in the future, was a Jon Favreau-led Star Wars live-action TV series.
I'm excited, but I'm also still kind of on the fence about it.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I know Jon Favreau is a huge Star Wars fan. I'm excited because it's exciting to see Star Wars come to live action television. It's exciting because they are talking about new innovative effects that mix the best of digital with the best of practical. So all these things, like that they've been projecting, like a static IG-88 actually moving around and flying and firing and, you know, riding a speeder and stuff like that. A static, a real life, you know, IG-88.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking exciting. But I'm one of those Star Wars fans. I never cared about the Mandalorians. You know, they were, Boba Fett was cool looking. Okay. But he was, in my opinion, no offense to anybody else, my opinion only, he was a punk. And that discredited me from caring about the Mandalorians. I'm a little disappointed that Jon Favreau didn't go the way of Old Republic or some sort of Jedi or Force-induced thing. However, my disappointment doesn't mean that this show won't be a complete success, because there are a lot of Star Wars fans that love the Mandalorian lore.
Oh, yeah. And I think with them, with their introduction in the Clone Wars TV series and Rebels, that kind of, for me at least, I was kind of like you. I'm just kind of like, Boba Fett. Oh well, wow, he's got okay, cool armor, I guess. But then seeing them kind of explain the history of the Mandalorians and their kind of backstory through Clone Wars and Rebels. Personally, I would have loved to have seen the Mandalorian Wars. If you're going to do the Mandalorians, I would have personally rather have seen the Mandalorian Wars with Revan and kind of lead up to the rise of Darth Revan,
right?
Which is a character that people have been wanting to see on screen in some shape or form for years. But again, I have no doubt it's going to be big. It's going to be successful. I'm guessing most likely it's going to be on the streaming service, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be on the Disney streaming service.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a smart move to do because there's so many shows that are good, smart shows, but because they're on network, they don't really succeed. So I definitely think that putting this on a streaming service will extend its life and really help it out quite a bit.
No, I agree with you, and I definitely fall under the same category as you with it. And I mean, there are many things about it that feel like, for me, feel like that it's going to be very exciting and an interesting venture. I mean, like the fact that this is taking place after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
This is the first time, action-wise, like live action-wise, we're actually stepping outside of in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're finally stepping into the 30 years, or not 30 years. No, it was 30 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to me. And I'm really hoping that even though, it's following this one Mandalorian, presumably, and I'm sure the majority of it's going to take place on Mandalore, in some way, shape, or form, that we're really going to see the formation of the First Order, the rise of the Knights of Ren, Snoke's rise to power, Luke's Jedi Academy. We may not see Luke, but maybe his Padawans before Ben Solo's turn. These things I'm really excited to seeing.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how this series is structured. Is it going to be this kind of epic series where very almost Game of Thrones, where you have multiple storylines happening around at the same time, or is it going to be, more your traditional TV series where it's following one character, maybe two or three characters, but they're all together kind of doing their own thing. But
right.
So it's going to be definitely interesting to see and watch and see how it develops and, see what the fan base thinks of it. Which leads me to my next topic that I want to talk about. We've talked about this much before, is the fan base itself in 2018. It's become, to use the term that's been bandied around a lot, in many ways very toxic. And do you think that's going to continue, or do you think that maybe episode 9 coming up can kind of silence all those critics?
I personally, and again, this is just a personal thought. Okay, so there's no fact or basis behind it. This is just what I think or feel about the situation. I do think episode 9 is going to change the environment, because I think a lot of people jumped the gun with episode 8, whether you love episode 8 or not. Okay, yeah. I personally love episode 8. Like I said, it ranks pretty high as far as Star Wars movies are concerned for me. But overall, episode 8 is the middle chapter.
Yeah.
There's still an end game in play.
Yeah.
You know, and whether you want to argue that J.J. Abrams is going to retcon crap that happened in 8, or whether that was the plan all along, that's going to be a debate for here to the end of time. But I think for a lot of people, episode 9 will answer a lot of questions and change a lot of opinions, where they go back to 8 and go, you know what, now that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's still going to be those people that, you know, as the kids say nowadays, haters going to hate. But, you know, and I mean, and that's the way with anything, you know, in life. There's going to be those people who are going to hate something just because it's either the cool thing to do or just because they have no life. You know, and it's and let me just get this out of the way first.
Oh, just to let you know, the Welsh MJ, a.k.a. Richard J., is on Twitch.tv, and he says the end of Season 4, Ahsoka and Sabine will kill the Mando.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
He brings up an excellent point, though. It's a good possibility in the Mandalorian that we could possibly see a live-action Ahsoka or Sabine.
That is possible. Yes, that would be very cool. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I never thought about it. Wow. That would be very cool.
Maybe even a return to Maul?
Possibly. No, because Maul died. Remember? He died in Rebels. Unless it's a flashback scene.
No, you're right. Crap. You're right. I'm thinking the wrong time frame. You're right. You're absolutely right. He did die in Rebels.
He died.
Spoiler for those who didn't watch Rebels.
Yes. If you haven't, go back and Google YouTube, look up that fight scene between Obi-Wan and Maul and Rebels. In my opinion, one of the best drawn fight scenes I've ever seen. Amazing scene. Some people hate it. I loved that fight scene.
Again, it's kind of the same deal as the episode 8 that I was talking about earlier, where it subverted expectations. Yeah,
it was just so. Especially if you watched any old samurai movies, especially Kurosawa, any Kurosawa movies, the Seven Samurais, anything like that, you'll get the references immediately when you watch it. Just amazing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Going back to a little bit to the Mandalorian, of the possibility of seeing these characters come to life. You know, these either animated characters or characters that we've read about. Which do you think? How much in the Mandalorian do you think that they will bring in and make canon anything from the old legends? And this is an opportunity to do some of that, to bring in maybe characters or races or ideas from the old, what are now the Legends book, and bring them into canon and officially make them canon, which is something they've done before with Thrawn and the Yuzing Vong. Not the Yuzing Vong, but the Nodogre.
Right. Well, to answer your question, I think it's a perfect opportunity to test the waters of some of the legend characters or situations to bring into something like the Mandalorian, because you could retcon the story without retconning the show if it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But if you're asking me who they would bring or what stories they would bring, I wouldn't even begin to know what to tell you.
Yeah. I wasn't. I was just saying. This. Thinking if do you think this would be a perfect opportunity to do that? And they, in a way, they did something similar with testing the waters in Solo, when they were flying out of Kessel. And they mentioned all the clusters of black holes and things like that around it, even though they never used the name Maw. That was what he was flying through, was the Maw, from the old Legends book, where the Maw installation was.
Right.
That was just my mind. Mind thinking back on it, that was just them maybe kind of testing the waters of saying like, "Hey, let's see what people think of this." We won't call it that, but this is basically what it is.
Well,
so,
look, I think Kylo Ren is testing the waters. His in The Force Awakens, his first outfit was awfully reminiscent of Darth Revan's outfit in Knights of the Old Republic. And his power set is very reminiscent of Starkiller, in the sense that he's a really overpowered Jedi. I think they're testing the waters for a lot of the Legend stuff to come back. And of course, we knew with Rebels, especially with them bringing Thrawn in, maybe not in the time frame that we're used to from the Legends, but the character himself and making him himself.
Yeah.
Was absolutely brilliant on their part, and it shows that these amazing. Characters, these legend characters, can exist in the new timeline, storyline, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, like you said, I mean, Thrawn is the perfect example of that. And so, are there any characters that you would not want to see be brought in?
Because of situations, I don't want to see the Solo twins, and I don't want to see Ben Skywalker.
I agree.
Well, let me amend. I don't want to see the Solo twins or Anakin Solo. I don't mind Ben Skywalker. Obviously, he would go under a new name, but Ben Skywalker could still exist, because in that 30 years, there's nothing that says Luke didn't get married. Or at least have a child. He may have cut off from the Force and stopped being a Jedi, but he didn't stop living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So later on down the line, a new Skywalker who's the birthright of Luke could still exist, which means Mara Jade could possibly still exist as well. But I think out of everybody, the ones that I definitely would not want to see come from Legends would be Jason and Jadzia and Anakin.
Yeah, I agree, and it's. I mean, for me, I can agree with you there, and it's not because I didn't think in the books that Jason and Jaina weren't interesting characters. It was just because of how the new movies have been set up. It would just not make any sense to bring them in.
Exactly, unless we're talking about like in Episode 9, and again, speculation. Do not take this as rumor mill. Speculation. Say JJ retcons Rey's parentage to being a Solo, just for the sake of this argument. And then the next trilogy that finally happens, because I guest starred on Star Wars Canon podcast, and I kind of argued with Brian Miller about this. I don't think Episode 9 is the end of the saga films. I think somewhere down the line, maybe another 30 years down the line, they'll do another 10, 11, and 12. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were the grandchildren of Rey, if you will. And if that be the case, then maybe under those circumstances, then maybe Jason and Jadzia and even Anakin could come into the picture. But as it stands right now, it would make no sense for them to show up.
I agree. Of course, by that time, the movies will be in 5D, and we'll be able to walk into the movies and be a part of the movies and like some sort of Star Trek weird holodeck thing where we can actually live out the movies instead of just being there. But which would be cool. I wouldn't mind, being a Jedi. And
okay, here we go. Richard J. finally sent the rest of it because he was originally trying to send it on Mixer, and for some reason Mixer's not showing me the chat. But when he said that end of season 4, Ahsoka and Sabine killed a Mando, he actually gave a full setting for the first 4 seasons of The Mandalorian.
Wow!
In season 1, you just bond with the Mando. By the end of season 1, you love him. Season 2, you find out he's tracking a Jedi. In season 3 finale, you find out that Jedi is Ezra.
Oh. Oh. Oh, I just got tingles.
It's not a bad little thought
No,
contest.
that's not a bad. Yeah, that is very.
And if he hit the nail on the head, sorry, Lucasfilm, we didn't know.
Yeah, we apologize. We apologize.
No, that's pretty cool. That would be a pretty cool way of. Although, if it went that way, does that mean we see Thrawn live action? Because right now, as it stands, they're both lost in unknown space.
Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting. It would be interesting to see who they would cast as for both roles, for either Ezra or for Thrawn.
Thrawn, Thrawn is a no-brainer. Get the guy who voiced him, Mad Mikkelsen's brother.
Mikkelsen. Oh, yes, definitely.
That's a no-brainer. Give it to him.
With Ezra, I think that's easy but hard because you can really put. Well, how old would he be at this time? Because he was Luke's age, so he'd be Luke's age.
He'd be an old man, yeah.
Well, it depends on how. No, because if this takes place right after Return of the Jedi, he'd be Luke's age at Return of the Jedi.
Right, which means he'd be in his late 20s, early 30s at best, depending on where exactly it sits.
How far ahead after it is. So he'd be in his prime.
So you could pretty much get any of the typical Hollywood actor to really play him. It's just finding the right one to play him. Like I almost see, like, obviously this wouldn't be the right person to cast, but I could almost see like a Jonathan Taylor Thomas type actor.
Yeah, if you would have done this back in the mid '90s, he would have been the perfect person to play a live action
Ezra. Yeah.
Ezra. Yeah. Yeah. He's got the look. He's even got that kind of attitude for that time period, for that character. But yeah, I don't know if anybody right now that would be
right.
And I mean, it would be, and this is a perfect opportunity for a young up and coming actor who hasn't really got a lot of roles, which is something Star Wars has done. They take these, actors. They've taken these actors that for either had extensive stage success or very little film success, and really tried to cast them. Look at the original series. Who really knew who Mark Hamill was?
No, Star Wars has always been absolutely known for that, where any big name actor who was brought in for credibility and legitimacy to the film was always giving a supporting role instead of the lead. The leads were unknowns. Like you said, nobody knew who Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and people barely knew who Harrison Ford was when Star Wars came out.
Harrison Ford had a few movies that had been, had a little bit of success. I think of the three people, he was the one that had the most success. But even he was ready to quit the business.
Yeah, he was a carpenter. He was making his living. He was actually making his living helping to build the sets for Star Wars. That'll give you something to think about there. But nobody knew who they were. The main actors that the big name actors that were the legitimacy to A New Hope were Alec Guinness and Tarkin. I'm drawing a blank on his real name. Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing. Yeah, Peter Cushing. So I mean, all in all,
give me 1 second.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, you look at it from that standpoint. Star Wars has always been a platform for unknowns to get discovered, especially in a lead role. I mean, again, look at the new trilogy now. You have.
You want to what? You want to be with Amal? Well, just give me a second. All right, sorry about that. My daughter's in here. Come here, baby girl.
Oh, no problem.
Hold on. Before let me. So, can you hear her? Say hi.
Hi.
Can you hear her?
Hey, what's up, sweetie?
So, Sorry, we apologize about this, but anything can happen here at War of the Stars. Hey, Lily.
What?
What does Darth Vader say?
I am your brother.
And what does Luke Skywalker say?
That's impossible.
Raising them right.
That's right. All right. Daddy's here. Take your tablet. And I'll be out in a bit. So, I apologize about that.
No problem. But as I was saying, finishing the point, even the new trilogy, nobody knew who Daisy Ridley was or John Boyega, or even Oscar Isaac really until Force Awakens, and that pretty much skyrocketed most of their careers. I mean, now John Boyega's been in other movies, and Oscar Isaac, I mean, he played Apocalypse in an X-Men film. I mean, it may not have been
I think the big example is Padme.
Padme not only really launched Natalie Portman's career, it inadvertently launched Keira Knightley's career.
Exactly. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, and Keira Knightley was just a stand-in. I mean, basically, it was like she was cast because, well, you kind of look like Natalie Portman.
Yeah, right. And then of course Keira Knightley moved on to Pirates of the Caribbean, which in its own right is a successful franchise.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, Star Wars makes stars. Even if you don't agree with the films themselves, even if you're not a huge fan of the franchise itself, you cannot deny that Star Wars makes stars.
Mm. So one thing I wanted to talk about is, and this is something that's been around for years, but I think there's been kind of a resurgence of it, is the resurgence of fan films. The Vader film by the YouTuber Star Wars Theory.
Star Wars Theory, yes.
And I mean, it's just been. First of all, did you see it?
Oh, of course I saw it.
Yeah, and what did you think?
Well, first off, I'm a subscriber of Star Wars Theory. A lot of the things I used to bring to not only breaking the fourth wall, but here, he was one of the sources I would look to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I definitely want to give a shout out to him because a lot of times I've yet to hear a theory or some sort of news drop from him that was false.
Yeah, he never goes on to speculation. And if it is speculation, he'll say, "Hey, this is just speculation." He's the anti Mike Zero.
Yeah. So. God, we had to bring that name in. No,
I'm sorry.
No, so full credit to Star Wars Theory to begin with. Love the channel, man. Giving you a shout out. Definitely go check out his stuff. Not just for the fan theory that we're about to talk about, or not the fan theory, the fan film, but also go back and look at some of his theories and stuff of that nature, and you'll see how pretty accurate he is.
And some of the ideas that he had, like he does a lot of things of taking ideas and saying, well, what if this had happened? Yeah. And
his what if series is really good. Yeah.
Really. Yes. Really, really good. And you talk about a guy, I mean, for the first time I seen him outside of camera, I'm like, holy crap, this guy is jacked. He is huge.
So much love to his channel. Go check it out. Yes. If you're not a subscriber yet, go subscribe and definitely check out Shards of the Force, man. Kathleen, the best way I could describe Shards of the Force, Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm. Learn something. This is what the fans want.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's simple.
I mean, I know a lot of people are giving it, some grief because it was so short. But, he had to go within the guidelines that Lucasfilm has.
Well, is he separating it amongst episodes anyway? It's going to be episodic, yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to, but because he put out a video shortly after Shards of the Past came out.
Shards of the Past, right?
Shards of the Past, and was talking about what has to happen now going forward, and I think he said he has to raise $200,000 to make the next one, and he was explaining how he's planning on doing that, and kind of the how what's going to happen from now on, and the fact that it might be a couple of years down the road, just because it's so much money, And he said he makes decent money doing it, but he doesn't make that kind of money.
Well, after that teaser, let's call it what it was. I know it's episode 1, but after that teaser, how do you not have a GoFundMe page? You'd have that $200,000 in an hour.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're gonna probably here in just a little bit wrap things up, and first we'll talk. We'll just ask you a really simple question. What do you think 2019 holds for Star Wars?
I think, especially with Episode 9 coming, plus all the live-action stuff and everything, I'm still on the fence about Resistance. I don't know what Resistance is going to do this year. Because, again, Episode 9 is about to release at the end of the year. So you figure its new season still has to keep the secrets. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Resistance. I'm not going to lie. Mando, I expect to be phenomenal. I do. Even though I'm not personally looking forward to a story about the Mandalorians, I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be really well done. It's because I believe in Jon Favreau as a director.
Yeah, and the fact that speaking of Resistance, Filoni's involved in it too. So you have two people. You have two people who are both Star Wars fans. One of whom is, in many ways, was Lucas's right-hand man at one point.
Yeah, he was his Padawan.
Yeah, so you have the learner becoming the master and moving on, and it's just. Yeah, I have no doubt that it will be an amazing show. And as far as Episode 9 goes, it's a Star Wars movie. It's going to be a success.
Well, let me ask you. Let me steal from our friend over at Star Wars Canon Podcast and ask you a question he asked me.
Okay.
This was a fan question that was asked of us, and I helped answer it. But I'll get your impression before I give my answer. The two biggest movies that are going to be coming out in 2009 is going to be the Avengers Endgame and Episode 9, yet to be titled. Box office wise, which one wins?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go out on a limb and say simply because of other things that have gone on, I think Endgame wins the box office, but just barely.
All right. Now here was how I answered him. I told him it depends on the time frame we're talking about. If we're talking box office opening weekend, Avengers all day.
Oh yeah,
Avengers all day. However, and there is some speculation intertwined with this answer. So,
yeah,
if Episode 9 goes the way I think it should go, where it's really going to wrap up into a nice bow, it's going to tie in the whole entire saga, it's going to answer all the questions and doubts of Episode 8, I think in the long haul, like at the end of the day when we're taking both movies out of theaters, I think Episode 9 beats Episode 8 because word of mouth of Episode 9 will start reaching the haters and they'll be like, well, maybe I need to go see this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it will also depend on what the first trailer looks like. The trailers that we get, for Episode 9.
Right.
To kind of get that, trying to bring people in and what they but yeah, I can definitely see that in the long term, and it will also depend on, honestly, how good both movies are.
Well, but again, Star Wars is Star Wars, and whether you like or hate Last Jedi, whether you like or hate Solo, Star Wars will always make money.
Oh,
they really have to screw up to not make money. And then Marvel seems to not be able to do wrong. And Infinity War was a perfect proof. We didn't think they could beat top Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And then Infinity War came out. So to think that they couldn't, wrap this into a neat bow themselves with Endgame it's almost silly to me to think that they couldn't. The only thing that's going to be weird and missing in Endgame in my mind is the loss of the late great Stan Lee.
Well, you know who's going to be the real winner between the Episode 9 and Marvel? Disney.
All us sweaty basement dwelling fans that are just eating all this up. That's who's going to win.
Well, that and as far as the money goes, Disney.
Oh yeah, Disney wins.
The mouse, they're going, yes, give me the money.
Bow to me, you little bastards.
Hey, I for one welcome our mouse overlord.
That's it, yeah. All hail the Princess Castle. You know what? No, not yet. You want me to bow? Then officially make Leia a Disney princess.
Amen.
Give her due.
Amen.
And have her inducted by Mark Hamill.
Yes. Leia is our princess.
But hey, let me ask you a question, Mr. Host. War of the Stars is your deal. So this could be a good way to end the show.
Okay.
What can we expect for this season of War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast?
Well, we are going to be moving forward this year. At the moment, until things change personally, don't want to get into any personal life, what's going on personally in my life. But for the time being, we are going to a monthly podcast every third week of every month. We'll be recording and going live on Twitch on the third Tuesday of every month. And then hopefully in the future, we'll be able to increase our the number of shows we do. Again, it will depend on personal things going on with my job and personal life and things like that. But we're going to be getting more and more guests. I have a couple of guests already lined up for the next couple of episodes, and I'm working on getting a few more, which if you're listening or watching or happen to see this, to Mr. Star Wars Theory, we would love to have you on. I'd love to do a show on fan films.
I'd love to talk to you about your experience of making your fan film.
Yeah. And maybe even some old guests. I know that Dr. Janice Liddell has said she would be willing to come back on and talk with us again. And I remember we had an amazing time, really fun time talking to Dr. Liddell.
I have been in talks with Mr. Mike Quinn, and he'd be more than willing to come back as well. We just have to find the right scheduling.
And just so many other things going on, and some things that I know me and Chris have talked about with other people that might be in the works here in the future. Just to keep an ear out for a lot of those things. Don't want to spoil anything, but there are big things I think in the future for not only War of the Stars but Realm of the Mist as a whole.
Well, right now, War of the Stars, I will say it. War of the Stars right now, it's the flagship show of Realm of the Mist, with Breaking the Fourth Wall being concluded and the revamp within the company. I will say War of the Stars is the flagship show right now. So, guys, keep in mind to show love to this and support to this show, because without you guys, there is no show.
That's right.
But the big thing we got to talk about too is the revamp inside War of the Stars, where it's going to be a little bit more of a structured show. Am I not correct in that?
Yes. Moving forward, today was kind of a spur of the moment thing. We kind of went back and forth whether or not we were going to be recording tonight or not, and we ended up doing this, like I said, kind of spur of the moment. So apologize for any thing kind of just being off the cuff and not really being structured. But going forward, we are going to be a little bit more structured. We're going to have a beginning of the show, a news kind of what's going on in the world of Star Wars, and just a little bit more structure and a little bit more. We want this show to be the best Star Wars show out there. No offense to any other shows out there. I know every other show wants to do that, but that's what I think we both want for this show, is it to be the best Star Wars show and to be unique. That's why we're bringing in the special guest. That's why with a monthly podcast, we're probably going to be expanding the time of the show, maybe make it a little bit longer, just because it is. It's not something we want this to be something that is special, that you look forward to this every month, to listening to us wax poetic about the galaxy far, far away.
That's exactly it.
That's. But on that note, like I said, keep track of what's going on. You can find us at Twitter at Realm of the Mist Entertainment, or on Facebook at Realm of the Mist Entertainment, or at War of the Stars. You can find me on my personal Twitter at John Mark Tolley 1, because as I always say, I am the #1 John Mark Tolley, or on Facebook at Mark Tolley. Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ChrisWild77. You can find me under Christopher Michael Stolle in Facebook. You can find me right here on Realm of the Mist Entertainment on YouTube and for Twitch.tv, as I do still run Press A Gaming and do plenty of video game Let's Plays pretty much daily. So,
yeah,
always keep an eye out for that.
Speaking of YouTube, as he said, we are on YouTube, so remember to like and subscribe, guys. You don't know how much that means to us when you hit that subscribe button. Every subscription that you give gets us closer and closer to making this show to be. I'll be honest, that we can make money doing it. We do this for fun, we do this for free, but at the end of the day, being able to do something that you love and make even $1 doing it, helps the show, helps us better the show. And with that also being said, the same thing can be said with our Patreon page. Every little dollar you put in helps us put out a better show.
Well, it's not just that. Every subscription puts us in the YouTube algorithm to being higher up in people's news feeds or direct feeds. If you want to catch this show and you want others to catch this show and be a part of this show in some way, shape, or form, whether it's as a guest or leaving comments down below on the replay or catching us live, the more subscribers we have, the more likely it is you will find our show on YouTube. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button.
That's right.
Let people know that we exist.
Tell your friends.
That's it.
Tell your friends. Tell everyone you know about War of the Stars and Realm of the Mist. With that being said, my name is John Mark Tolley, and this has been War of the Stars, and may the Force be with you.
Always.